Estrogen's linked to cancer. In this video, you'll discover how estrogen promotes cancer metastasis, the proliferation, angiogenesis, and why xenoestrogens are so dangerous to your health. Also, you'll learn how vitamin D can reduce its negative effects. This may be some of the most important information you learn about cancer prevention. Time magazine had a cover article and they asked the question, why is breast cancer spreading around the world? Let's take a look at why this is happening. There are more than one form of estrogen. There are actually three primary forms of estrogen: estrone, estradiol, and estrotriol. However, there are many other metabolites or subcompounds that have similar forms. The metabolites also have metabolic activity and can greatly influence your physiology as well as influence cancer promotion or protection. What are xenoestrogens? Xenoestrogens are described as the foreign estrogen-like compounds, such as widely used industrial compounds such as PCBs, BPA, and phthalates. These are industrial chemicals. They have estrogen-like effect on living organisms, even though they differ chemically from the naturally occurring estrogenic substances produced by the body. So they look different, yet they act on the estrogen receptor and stimulate the cells. The word estrogen literally means foreign estrogen. Xenoestrogens are also called environmental hormones, or EDC, endocrine disrupting compounds. They can bind to the estrogen receptor and have over 1,000 times the affinity. Thus, they can greatly stimulate the estrogen receptor, which in turn can stimulate cancer growth and proliferation. Time magazine did another cover story on estrogen, looking at why young girls are hitting puberty earlier than ever. They asked, is it the hormones? Is it fat? Is it something in the water? What they also stated was that BPA exerts estrogenic effects, and these effects are very powerful, and they're found in human pregnant maternal, fetal, and adult blood and other tissues, and that the levels are higher than those recommended. That was from the journal Endocrinology in 2006. And this interesting quote, with the possible exceptions of ionizing radiation or inheriting a known genetic mutation, most of the known risk factors for breast cancer are related to cumulative lifetime exposure to estrogens. This is from Medical Hypothesis in 2006. So if it's lifetime exposure to estrogen that increases the risk for breast cancer, where does all this estrogen come from? Well, the body can produce estrogen, and it starts throughout life, and it increases at puberty. There are estrogen potentiating factors such as alcohol, or low fiber, or high fat, or high calorie diets, and something called dysbiosis, which is dysregulation or disharmony in the intestinal tract. There are also carcinogens that are known to increase breast cancer, such as radiation. And there are all these xenoestrogens that are very powerful and bind to the insulin receptor and cause the cells to grow and divide. These are the foreign compounds. They all can increase breast cancer. But there's some positive aspects as well. Anti-estrogenic potentiating factors such as exercise, phytonutrients, and so on. And they can help reduce breast cancer. This paper in Cancer Research from 2008, they stated that the data suggest the existence of at least two independent biological pathways that are related to colorectal cancer. One that involves endogenous estradiol. That means one of the pathways is influenced by the estrogen that the body produces, and a second pathway is associated with obesity and high blood insulin, hyperinsulinemia, which you've learned about in the earlier videos. Simply put, elevated estrogen and elevated insulin promote colorectal cancer. In another study from 2011, the bottom line summary was the association between obesity and endometrial cancer risk in postmenopausal women may be attributed to inflammation, insulin resistance, and elevated estrogen. So you can see how these different factors work together in a web-like manner to promote certain cancers. This paper from the journal Endocrinology in 2010 stated that the enzyme aromatase, and remember, you learned that the enzyme aromatase takes testosterone and converts it to estrogen, and that it's found in breast tissue and prostate tissue and so on. And what they said in this study was that aromatase, the enzyme that catalyzes estrogen synthesis, is critical for the progression of estrogen receptor positive breast cancer in postmenopausal women. And that vitamin D3 significantly decreases aromatase expression. It also helps reduce the levels of something called prostaglandins. These are hormones produced by the body that cause inflammation, and vitamin D helps reduce inflammation. The summary from this paper said that vitamin D3 decreases the expression of aromatase, the enzyme that catalyzes estrogen synthesis selectively in breast cancer cells. So again, vitamin D is very important in down-regulating these cells that contribute to cancer growth. So let's look at a diagram and how this all fits together. Inflammation, estrogen, insulin, and cancer. The enzyme aromatase takes testosterone and converts it to estrogen. And estrogen can then act on the estrogen receptor of the cells, and through a sequence of events ultimately causes the proliferation of the cell, and if it's a cancer cell, that's a proliferation of a tumor cell. And we learned that xenoestrogens can be up to 1,000 times more powerful at acting on the estrogen receptor and propagate this whole pathway and again promote the proliferation of cell division and tumor cells. So what turns on aromatase? We learned that insulin, the body's production of insulin, stimulates aromatase and activates this pathway. We also learned that inflammation acts on aromatase. And so where does inflammation come from? From immune activation from your immune system. And that could be in sinus infections, in your teeth and gums in infections, if you have intestinal dysbiosis or irritable bowel Crohn's or some of those intestinal problems, viruses, and so on. It can come from oxidative stress, infection, trauma, and again, dysglycemia, which is related to blood sugar management and insulin. But the good news? Vitamin D can downregulate aromatase and slow this process. And interesting enough, inflammation also acts on cells to cause metastasis, proliferation, angiogenesis, and so on. And the good news here is that vitamin D also helps to reduce inflammation and slow those processes. So as you can see, vitamin D is very important in the prevention and maybe even the reversal of cancer. So it's important you get your levels checked. In summary, your lifetime exposure to estrogen is important in the development of certain cancers. And I should state, this is for women and for men. Xenoestrogens can be and are powerful modulators of cancer growth and proliferation, and thus they should be reduced or eliminated. Another important point is that insulin and inflammation can increase estrogen levels and cancer risk. And vitamin D works on multiple pathways and areas of your physiology to prevent cancers, and thus optimal status is vital. So having your blood checked is important. In the next video, you will explore how the process of methylation contributes to cancer. Many people are not familiar with the term methylation, and we'll describe that in the next video. This will help you better address the root cause of cancer and chronic diseases. As cancer affects so many family and friends, please forward this educational video onto them. Thank you.